Hello, distance learners, and welcome to week 4 of our time together in this school year. Man, time is really going by fast. At least it is for me. I hope you're enjoying this season and the weather that we're having, and maybe even enjoying your schoolwork. Wouldn't that be something? All right, here I am at our Schoology page, and you can see that I've added week 4, and I put the dates on it, September 28th through October 4th. October 4th is the Sunday before I post the week 5 material. So you have a week to get this stuff done. There's 3 things in your folder. The third one that you don't see here is the video that you're watching right now. So you figured that out. And the next thing is the Nearpod lesson for week 4. I believe that all of the issues we've been having about linkings, about the links working and the codes working, I believe that's all been fixed, but please let me know if you find out otherwise. But just a couple tips on that. Some things that will help Nearpod work better is if you restart your computer at least once a week. Also, if you find that it's not loading correctly, or it keeps asking you for the code, try a different browser. So if you're using Chrome, maybe try Firefox. If you're using the Edge, Microsoft Edge, try using Chrome or Firefox and see if that works. If you've tried all those things, you've restarted your computer, you chose a different browser, and it still doesn't work, then by all means, please send me an email and we'll get it fixed. Okay, podcast assignment 4, I'm going to open that one up because it's a little bit different this time. You may remember that I told you at the beginning of the school year that you would have 3 weeks of assignments where I chose the podcast for you, and then I'd let you choose your own podcast after that. Well, here we are at week 4, so that's what you get to start doing. You might look at this page and go, Mrs. Gaunt, why did you put so many words in here? I don't even want to read that. Well, you should be able to read something that long. That's not very long, but I get it. So I have put a recording of this at the bottom of the page, so you can hear me talk to you about what this assignment is about just by clicking that link. Good, but I'm going to tell you right now anyway. You have made it to the point where you're choosing your own podcasts, but as usual, you do have to do the podcast summary report. You're still going to be listening for claims and evidence and decide whether that's reasonable evidence and that whether or not you believe the claim that they're making. It's going to be more important than ever that you include both the name of the podcast, and the name of the podcast is right down here in blue, and then the episode that you choose, because you could all be choosing different episodes, and I may have to go listen to it in order to make sense of what you've written on your summary report, and I need to be able to find that. So make sure you're telling me both things. One more thing before we go to one of these is that you must choose episodes that are more than 12 minutes long. All right, so I'm going to click on one called But Why, a podcast for curious kids. You may remember this one. This is the podcast that we listened to the very first week, and it's the one we listened to is about vaccines and masks and hand washing and stuff. But by clicking the link, it's going to take you to the main podcast page. So this is the But Why podcast main page, and then you get to choose which episode you want to listen to. So here's one about why are some animals pets and others are lunch? Why do dogs have tails? Why do cats sharpen their claws? And they're not all about animals. Here's the one about vaccines. Here's one about ice cream. Here's one about forests. Oh, there's a whole bunch. So you can choose whatever you want, and it doesn't have to be the But Why podcast. Remember, there were several on that list. Brains On is the one that had the one about what makes gross things gross. Wow in the World is the one where you listened to it last week if you were listening to the one about the elevator to the stars. That was a Wow in the World. And then there's several more down here at the bottom. If you know of another podcast that's a science podcast and you want to listen to that instead, you need to contact me first and I will look into it. I will probably say yes if it really is a science podcast, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to head back to Schoology, or back to our main page in Schoology, because there's one more thing I want to show you. All right. So the distance learning class is a very big class. And what I'm finding is that it takes me quite a while to get through all my grading and then back to where I'm loading stuff into Portal so you can see it. And several of you are sending me emails that say, I turned in my missing work, I turned in my missing work. And it's really just getting to be too much to keep track of that way. So I'm changing things. Up here at the top of the page, I added something called a form. Yay, I completed my missing work. Click on that link and you'll get to a very short Google form that says this. Yay, I completed my missing work. Use this form to tell Mrs. Gaunt that you have completed something that was marked missing in the gradebook. You could also use it if I only gave you partial credit and you finished the assignment. You could use this to tell me that too. But if you complete more than one missing assignment, you need to fill this form out for each one of those assignments that you turn in. Okay, fill it out completely. Number 1 says your name, and make sure it's first and last. I still get students who just give me their first name, and I can't always tell who that is, especially since I have the distance learners and kids at school too. What group are you in? All of you who are listening to this video are distance learning students, so you click the bottom one. Okay, and then which assignment have you completed? This is the main, these are the names that you see for the assignments in OneNote, Graph Analysis, Notes, Processing Activity 1, Processing Activity 2, or the podcast assignment, which is from Schoology, or maybe you're completing a test. Or if it's something else that I haven't thought of, you can put it in Other. And then this is very important, number 4. You need to tell me what week the assignment was from. So you can give me the week if it's in Schoology, the week if it's in OneNote, or the folder number if it's in Schoology. Okay, those numbers correspond anyway, but all you have to put in here is a number, 3, 4, 1. That way I'll know what assignment this goes with. Hopefully that makes sense. And it'll make things a lot less confusing and much less likely that I'm going to miss somebody's work that they've turned in. All right, so I think that's everything in Schoology. So now I'm going to jump over to OneNote. As usual, you see there's a graph analysis page. You know, I've been telling my students in class lately that I think you should look at these graphs like they're a puzzle. So before you ever even read the questions, like don't go read the questions first. Look at the graph first. Look at the key. Look at the title. Look at the subtitle. Check out these states and what colors they are and what does that actually mean. And you know what I do? Like I always look at Minnesota first because that's where we are. But then I know people in Illinois, so I look in Illinois. I know people in Louisiana and Texas. I know people in Colorado and Wisconsin. So I like to look at those states also. It's just a good way to keep informed about what's going on and understand more about what the graph is telling you. So really, try and treat it like a puzzle. Get as much information out of just looking at it and reading the captions as you can before you ever look at the questions. It's a skill we're trying to get here. And if you were looking at graphs in a newspaper or something, there won't be questions to guide you through it. It's just a graph that you need to be able to read and understand. All right. Your notes page is a little bit different. Instead of typing in a bunch of notes this time, it's a thinking map. So this is what's called a cause and effect thinking map, and here's how it works. All these 3 boxes on the left side over here are the causes of a change in population size here in the middle box. Everything on the right is an effect or a result of that change in population size. So read all those captions over, try and make sense of it, and then come down and answer the questions. All right, processing activity 1 is a virtual dissection of an owl pellet. Students, I'm hoping that I can pack up actual real owl pellets to send home with you to dissect, and that would be next week during week 5. So here during week 4, I'm going to have you do a virtual owl pellet dissection. It's just like a digital lab on your computer that gives you the steps of how to dissect an owl pellet and what you find inside, and you just kind of electronically dissect one. So do that. Click the link to go do that, and then answer the questions when you're finished. Processing activity 2. One of the things we'll be talking about in the Nearpod this week is threatened and endangered species. So your task will be to choose an animal that is designated as endangered and do a little bit of research and answer the questions that are shown on this page. So you'll type the answer right in the box, double click over here and start typing. Wherever you're describing something, especially these bottom 2 boxes, you need to use complete sentences. And there's a place for the picture of an animal, the animal right here. And the title is your title. You decide what you want that to say. So I'm going to click on this link before I end here and show you. It takes us to the World Wildlife Organization, to the list of current endangered species. Make sure when you choose your animal that you're looking over here at the conservation status. If it just says vulnerable or near threatened or least concern, don't choose those. Just pick the ones that say endangered or critically endangered. And for your report, you will need both the common name and the scientific name. And by clicking on the link here, it takes you to more information about the animal and pictures and things. You may need to go elsewhere on the internet to find all the answers to the questions. If you do, make sure you're using a reputable site, and that usually means not one that is a .com. Much better to use something that's .org, .edu, or .gov. If you have any questions about this, make sure you ask. All right, I think you'll enjoy these assignments. So I look forward to seeing you guys this week in your pod meetings. Don't forget, and have a great, great week. See ya.